Rise and shine. Pour yourself a cup of coffee and tune in to Good Morning Aurora. News, weather, and really cool interviews. Monday through Friday from 8 to 9 a.m.
Good morning, Aurora. Good morning, Aurora. Good morning, Aurora. The time is 8 o'clock a.m. You're listening to and watching Good Morning Aurora, the second largest city's first daily news podcast. It's Friday. You should be proud of yourself because you made it. Now, I'm friends with many of you, so I've been seeing your Instagram stories and your Facebook thoughts and all kind of stuff. Can't wait till Friday. Oh, my God, it's only Tuesday. Oh, Wednesday again. Yes, you made it. Aren't you proud? It's going to be 78 degrees today, and, we got the weather for you guys. You should have watched it already, but it's going to be going into the 80s. It's Memorial Day weekend. We've got a great show for you this morning, a great discussion. We're going to learn a lot, and we have with us today the Executive Director of CASA Kane County, Mr. Jim Ciaula. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Thanks, Curtis.
All right. Good to see you, man. Good to see you.
Twice in 1 week.
Yeah. Yeah, we were talking about that before the camera came on. We just made each other a couple of weeks ago. Now we keep seeing each other all the time. But that's what it's about, making those connections. That's what true outreach is, making those connections, getting to know each other, and seeing how we can help each other, right?
Yeah.
We've got volunteer opportunities to talk about with CASA Kane County as well. But before we go any further, how are you feeling going into this weekend? How are you feeling? How's it been? How's the week been for you? How you feeling?
The week's been pretty hectic.
Okay.
A lot of outreach, a lot of community connections, and I'm excited for it to be Friday Memorial Day weekend.
Absolutely.
But we still have a whole nother day of business to do, so I'm ready.
Right.
I'm energized.
Okay, all right. We got the coffee too as well, so we're ready for this day, you guys. Our dear friend Michelle Gums is here. She says, "Good morning. Yep, I'm awake. Had to take ibuprofen, but she's here with us. Good morning to you, Michelle. Shout out Kane County. Glory Gerardo is here. Good morning. Jennifer Ryan Mayton, Becky Hoff, Juan Cayetano. Get to know the Woodcrafters by Luz E. Juan here on Facebook. State, Samim Munshi Bernstein is here. Johnny Felix, Daniel Calderon is here. Good morning, all of you great and beautiful people. So, just the other night, Wednesday night, there was the Kane County meet and greet that took place at AC's Pub on the west side on Galena. Great event.
Yeah, it was a wonderful turnout. There's the majority of people there did not know about CASA Kane County, and we did a brief presentation and a lot of one-on-one networking. We had staff, board members, friends at CASA, and we just got to meet and share our story, and it was a great evening out.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, it was a good time. Glad you were there. Thank you.
Yeah, our friend Cindy Morales invited us out there. Cindy Morales of Pop of Love and Cups Broad Drive. So it was a great event. Good to see so many community people there, too.
Yeah, it is.
That was the strength right there. That was strength.
Agreed. And I don't know, I think you're aware of this, but Cindy just joined our board.
Okay.
So we're really excited to have her part of the CASA Kane County leadership team.
Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. And before we go any further, I want to say good morning to our staff and members, Gabriel and Brett. How y'all doing this morning, brothers?
I'm feeling good.
Okay. All right. It doesn't really stretch over there, but you got to stretch too.
All good over here.
Brett. Yeah. Good to see you guys, man. Good to see you guys. So we have a lot to tell you guys about today. There's CASA Kane County events, and there's also volunteer opportunities that are available as well. So I'm going to read some of the FAQs, but definitely want you to let us know about CASA. We'll actually start off with you. How long has CASA been around?
So CASA Kane County's been around 35 years. CASA, the organization's a national organization, started in the 60s by a judge who when he was looking at cases in his courtroom and making decisions about children's whereabouts, whether they're going to be returned back home or placed in the adoption system, etc. He said, we really need people watching out for these children and being the eyes and ears for the court.
Right.
And he had this idea of inviting a number of people in from the community and see what happens. He had a room full of 50, 60 people on the first call to see if they'd be willing to volunteer. And he said, I think we're up to something.
Okay.
And so today there's over 900 CASAs across the United States. There's 34 in Illinois, and we're one of the largest here in Kane County. We're all individual 501c3s, so we are separate not-for-profits.
Okay.
But there is a national and state organization. I guess maybe just sharing what it is that CASA does, right? Our CASA mission is really advocating for children who have been removed from their home because they've experienced abuse or neglect and placed into foster care. CASA Kane County serves 100% of the children who are removed from homes in Kane County.
Okay.
And our role is to really advocate for their safety, their health, wellness, and track them throughout their journey while they're in foster care. Ultimately, our volunteers, along with our staff and our legal team, as they work through that journey, will ultimately recommend whether the child is returned home or termination of parental rights, which is not a happy thing to do, or put up for adoption. And unfortunately, there's about 6% that actually age out. And so
age out, get to age 18?
You could actually stay till you're 21.
Oh, okay.
The benefit of that is you get access to the services that you would not get otherwise.
Through the state of Illinois?
Through the state of Illinois.
Okay.
So it's what's sad is at the end of 19, we served 300 children. COVID wasn't good for many people or organizations.
Absolutely.
At the end of 22, we served 613 children.
Wow.
And an average court case is 2.5 to 3 years. So we keep inching up in the number of open cases, which is what's driving the need for volunteerism.
Why? I'm sure this is a multi-layered answer and question, but why is that? Why are we inching up? Is it because is it just the unfortunate experiences that young people may be having?
I think more so it's when you think post-COVID and everyone was in the same home together, not used to being together 24/7.
We did see domestic violence and other things rise. True.
Right. And so if the parents are struggling, that's why the children are removed from their home, because their parent either through abuse or neglect. And so therefore the children have to be removed because of what's going on in the household.
Wow.
Right. So it's just it's a continued downstream effect of what's happening in the more broader scope.
Wow. That's sad.
Yeah, it is very sad. And then from a courtroom perspective, our purpose as CASA, right, is to watch over the children and advocate for the best interests of the child. But there's also a goal through the state of Illinois of wanting to return the children back home versus putting them up for adoption, right?
Which would be the ideal outcome.
Ideal outcome is to return back home. Well, if you're removing a child from a situation of drug or alcohol abuse on the part of the parent, sex trafficking, incarceration, things of that nature, they're not in a position to take them back home in 3 months, 6 months, right? We're out the abuse and neglect court, which we are part of, is all about reconciliation and rehabilitation.
Right.
So that takes time. So while the parent or parents, depending on the situation, are going through that journey, someone else is taking care of your child, and that takes a while.
I wonder, would not immediate family members be the default person to give the kids with, or if that's probably been already deemed not possible given the circumstances in the household? Is that
No, so it's a great question, Curtis. The court will look first to family.
okay?
If appropriate, right?
Right.
Depends on the situation, but they will look first to family as the foster family.
Okay.
But what that also leads us to is, where are the children? So we are CASA Kane County. That means that the child experienced abuse or neglect in Kane County.
Which created the court case.
Which created the court case in Kane County.
Understood.
But they could be placed in a home anywhere in the state of Illinois because they're a ward of the state at that point. So last year at the end of 22, our volunteers put on over 100,000 miles for their child visits. So just process that for a moment as to how much driving occurs, where the children are located. About 55% of the children in our care today are in Kane County, but 45% are not.
Wow. Holy cow.
Yeah. So we're serving Illinois.
Right.
It's just where the court case originated from.
How many CASAs are in Illinois?
So there's 34 CASA organizations. We're one of the largest.
Okay.
Lake County, Cook, and ourselves.
Right.
Cook is its own. It has its own unique challenges, being Cook County and a large metropolitan city.
Right.
We have today almost 300 cases and 500 children.
Wow.
We've served about 540 children already year to date. So with 613 being the number at the end of last year, unfortunately, it's looking like we may exceed even last year's numbers, because the number of cases going out is much slower than the number of cases coming in, because you're looking at this 2.5 to 3 year time frame.
Wow.
So we have about 220 volunteers. We have about 40 to 50 cases that still don't have a volunteer CASA with them. So that means our staff, we're serving them all, but that means it's on the staff team.
Who now has multiple cases and individuals.
Who has their own cases, plus they're coaching and advising the volunteer base. Our volunteers are our lifeblood.
Right.
220 amazing, compassionate, loving, caring individuals willing to give of their time and energy to be trained, to be appointed as a guardian ad litem within our court system, and to track, monitor, and connect with that child. They're one of the only people that are the constant in that child's life until they're safely returned home, adopted, or age out of the system. Because on average, a child is moving from foster home to foster home 3 or 4 times during that journey.
Right.
But who's still there for them? Their CASA volunteer.
Wow. Wow, that's amazing. All right, the time is 8:12. Jim, let's wave to the people, because now they can see us. Good morning, all of you great, beautiful people.
Good morning.
Derek Peterson, Norma Peterson is here. Good morning to you guys. Daniel Calderon, click it or ticket. Be safe this weekend. Sound advice, young man. Sound advice. We're here learning about CASA Kane County and its history and everything that's going on in Kane County. So if once the court case has been started and now a CASA volunteer or either a staff member is assigned to the outcome, you said it takes about 2 to 3 years for it to move through the system.
Yes.
And by moving through the system, now at the end, there's going to be a disposition. Either the young person's going to age out, they're going to go back to their parents, or what was the third possibility? Adoption. Okay. Now, at the adoption point, does the relationship with CASA sever at that point? Because now the adopted family is responsible for the person? Okay.
There's a 6-month sort of overlap period of even when they're returning back home or adoption, just from a transitional, but we end a lot of our CASA volunteers, because you build relationships with these children throughout this time.
Right.
If the child desires, a lot of them will stay connected with their CASA volunteer,
Right.
because of the relationship that was built.
Man, that's awesome. What are some with the respect of patient-client privilege or can you share with us any great success stories?
Oh, yeah, sure. So as you suggest, it is all confidential.
Absolutely,
on the average story, right? But there's almost not a week that goes by that we don't have a success story.
Okay.
And we share those successes. As you can imagine, for the frontline employee base and the volunteer, they're seeing a lot of things firsthand that are not often pretty.
Right.
And so when they're working together with our legal team, with the state's attorney's office, we're all working together to really what's in that child's best interest. And you see them go home because the parent has taken all the steps and actions that they needed to take in order to return get their child returned back home safely.
Right.
It's an exciting day, and we celebrate those successes. There's emails around the system, there's high fives, there's, that's why we're there. Right. And, when a child cannot be returned home because the parent just doesn't have what it takes, or it's just taking so long that their ability to rehabilitate is just, they're not taking the action to get there.
Sure.
We don't like to do it. The court doesn't like to do it. But for the best interest of the child, sometimes it's best that they are then adopted, and now they have a future in some other place. And that's also a success story, because we're all about changing a child's story.
Right.
And our work is about giving hope to children.
Yeah.
Right. And we may not always like the direction it takes, but if we could get them in a safe, caring, loving environment, and then they have the ability to get the services that they need and go on to be a contributing, successful, individual in society, that's where you want to get them to, right?
Everybody deserves a shot to be and do their very best.
That's right.
And sometimes it is unfortunate. No, it matter. My parents divorced when I was real young. I was never a ward of the state or anything like that. But this was the 90s. It was like 1991. So the process was that, I spent all of my fourth grade and fifth grade, like in court, in lobbies of courtrooms, like in the judge's chamber, like reading books I couldn't understand, just while they, worked it out during their meetings and all the other kind of stuff. In retrospect, boy, would have been great to actually be somewhere learning for that time of day, but, such is life, right?
Yeah.
That's why this kind of thing, as I mentioned at you guys' meet and greet event, I take it serious, man. I take it serious. I do believe that there needs to be a far better way and a more effective way to look after young people, especially in their most formative stage. Because once your household crumbles, what else you got?
And the need, you're right, Curtis. And we're just a piece of the pie, right?
Yeah.
Of just being there for that child, making sure they're being taken care of, making sure they're getting their doctor's visits, they're going to school, how are they performing, all of that, right? And at some point then, it's like, well, we want to make sure they're being turned over to somebody that's going to watch and care for them in the same manner that we've been guiding, watching, right?
Yep.
We don't take them in our own homes. The volunteers, they're overseeing and creating that relationship and talking to all the key players that are part of that child's life to make sure they're progressing. Or if we think they need some other services or some other support, we could recommend that. And we do in many cases. And that's why approximately every 90 days, we're in court doing an update, making sure things are moving along so that we could change course or recommend a change in course as we move down that path.
All right. So I'm going to read some of the FAQs and then also the events that you guys have coming up.
Thank you.
Real quick. So we're going to go to a brief commercial here real quick. Blanca Monyares, good morning to you, dear friend. She says, good morning, Aurora. Right back at you. Patricia Kogan Rooney, good morning to you. Renee Cruz, GMA, right back at you, dear sir. Our good friend Jim Mendoza is here. Good morning, friends, and happy Friday to you. Emily Bowe, get to know Zen Loft, located at 6 West Downer, or is it Stolp, Emily? I think it's Downer. Well, it's on the corner of Stolp and Downer. You can't miss it. If you look up on the corner of Stolp and Downer, you'll see a nice, great place there. Go inside of there, get your yoga on, align your chakras. That's what they're called.
Or chi.
Or chi. Yes,
Yeah,
yes. Yeah, do that. Get Zen. You can totally get Zen at Zen Loft Wellness Center. Our dear friend Cindy Morales is here. Good morning, Curtis, Jermaine, and Jim. CASA Kane County is an amazing organization doing great things in Aurora. Absolutely. And right back at you. And Tracy Duran, Aurora's #1 historian, is in the chat. Get to know her on Facebook and Instagram. Leland Hotel Aurora and Discovering Aurora. She'll tell you everything about the time that Al Capone spent in Aurora, all the way to how much a shot of whiskey used to cost at the Star at the, there's a club on top of Sky Club.
Sky Club.
Sky
Yes,
Club.
yes.
There used to be a club up there. She's got the menu from the whatever it was, the 30s.
Wow.
And you look at the food. They were eating good for a good price. Bring back those American prices. Okay. So I'm going to tell you about CASA. Then we'll get to their events that they have. What makes the CASA, who are CASA and GAL? What's GAL, by the way?
GAL's Guardian Ad Litem.
Guardian
And
Ad
there's
Litem.
only 6 CASAs in Illinois with that status. What that means is we have our volunteers in more extensive training, and they actually are sworn into the court as a guardian ad litem after they graduate.
All right.
And it gives them access to information that without that status, you'd have to go through a third party, usually a guardian ad litem attorney, to access. So, for example, a volunteer wants to know about whether or not how the child is doing in school. They could actually call, speak, get their records without having to go through some third party because they have that access. They could talk to get therapist records. They could get access to talking, making sure their medical records are current.
It's a legal designation.
It's a legal designation, and they are part of the court.
Absolutely. Okay. CASA volunteers are compassionate, objective, self-motivated individuals from the community who are trained to speak on behalf of abused and neglected children. They come from all walks of life, and many work full-time in Kane County, who are appointed as the guardian ad litem and have extensive responsibility and commitment to provide the judge with an unbiased view as an appointed officer of the court. How does a CASA GAL volunteer gather information about a case? To prepare a recommendation, the CASA GAL volunteer talks with the child and speaks to parents, family members, social workers, school officials, health providers, and anyone else significant in the child's life. The CASA GAL volunteer also reviews records pertaining to the child, school records, medical records, caseworker reports, and other documents. Now, how do I become a CASA GAL volunteer? I'm glad you asked. See, that's why you're watching Good Morning Aurora, right? Girl, you got all the news. How do you know that? Because I tune in from 8 a.m. to 9. Okay, check this out. Prospective CASA GAL volunteers should attend a general information meeting, submit an application with references, complete an interview with the program staff, and attend a 40-hour training. After acceptance, a complete criminal history and child abuse registry check is performed on each applicant. Upon completion of their training, CASA GAL volunteers are sworn in by the juvenile court judge and promise to maintain strict confidentiality, objectivity, and professionalism throughout their appointment. The time is 8:23 a.m. You're listening to and watching Good Morning Aurora, the second largest city's first daily news podcast. Tracy Miller is here, friend of the show. Good morning to you, Tracy. Matt Hansen is here, another friend of the show. And Jose Art is here, another friend of the show. He's a body painter. He does great work. Okay. Now, go ahead. I'm sorry. Yeah.
If I could build on that,
Absolutely.
on how
Absolutely.
to learn more. If you go to our website at www.casakanecounty.org,
Put the website in the chat, please.
you could there's videos, there's some general information, and you can really get a sense of what the journey is like.
Right.
And then the general information meetings we also do online or through Zoom. So it's we try to be as efficient as we can be because of everyone's time.
Right.
But there's a couple of great videos right on our website that'll give you a nice set of information and a framework to learn more about what it means to be a volunteer.
Now, you and I were talking at the meet and greet, and you brought up something that I thought was very effective, but also a great team building. You mentioned that because of the confidentiality when discussing cases, which you cannot do as a volunteer. You can't tell your friends what happened with Susie's family. You can't do that.
Correct.
This is a very fulfilling and rewarding thing to get involved in with a friend.
Yes.
Because with a friend, you're both sworn in, you're both credentialed.
Yes.
You can discuss a lot more effective. You can plan and teamwork cases together if you are both volunteers.
That's correct. So we've been finding great response to the dual guarding ad litem CASA volunteer, husbands and wives, partners, friends. You know, a lot of time, you know, you hear people say, gosh, I would love to see this person more often. We just don't have time. Even spouses or partners don't have time because they're all running. So this is quality time on your drive to the case. And then you get to have, you know, two sets of errors. And then some people are better than others in capturing the notes because you have to put all of this stuff into a database. Not that it's complicated, but everyone's ability to
take effective notes,
and put it in there. So you get to team up and do that together. And it is also great for your own mental health to be able to share that story with someone who is allowed to hear it. Right. Now, for those of you that don't do it together, this is relatively new concept that we've been doing, the dual.
Right.
We have regular fireside chats or coffee chats where volunteers could come in and they talk about their cases and they hear from one another because you want to be in a supportive environment. Right. I've worked in large corporate. I've worked in other not-for-profits. The love, care, and compassion from the volunteers to the staff to the board members to our donor base, to the people in the community. I've never seen anything like it. And I think it's just because everyone's got the heart for the children and what's in their best interest, and we come together for that mission. And so mission-focused people could get a lot done when you focus on
absolutely, because there's a you bring up a good point too, and it's a good thing to talk about in the overall discussion of like a team. There's a fail-safe that's kind of involved in this, right? No, if you're not there, if you're just there for the T-shirt, right? If you just came for the donuts and the coffee, you're not going to make it. You're not going to be fully engaged. So it's going to take the actual person who's willing and dedicated and really motivated by the work and the mission, who's going to be the effective volunteer.
Right.
You know, nobody's going to come. You know, this isn't it's not for the faint of heart.
No. You know, there are other volunteer opportunities if someone wants to help at an event or help with our incidentals program by helping ensure that our basement that are filled with all kinds of items for the kids is organized, or help us in the office. There is opportunities to do those things, but the primary need is for volunteers so that every child has its own CASA, and that our CASA advocate supervisors, who on average have 30 to 35 cases, can be there as the mentor, the support, the coach with all of our volunteers. And so if you don't go and see your child, if you don't submit your report on time, someone has to cover that, right? There's other things, and I don't make fun of this lightly. I volunteer at a food pantry myself. But if the boxes of corn do not get put on the shelf because I didn't show up, I mean, shame on me, but you're not changing a child's life,
Right.
right? Someone else will do it. They'll be there a little bit longer.
Right.
It'll go into the next volunteer shift who will load it. But if you don't go see your child, you don't submit to court, we don't give proper information to the judge. I mean, that's a whole nother level of volunteerism and commitment. And so it's not for everybody.
Right.
And there's many ways to partner with us, but one of them, and one of the key ones, is this volunteer opportunity.
That's awesome. So the qualifications, you have to be age 21 or older. Attendance at a general information meeting demonstrates emotional maturity, objective and flexible, self-assurance and assertiveness, has the ability to make decisions and set goals, is willing to commit to the program for a minimum of 2 years, possesses verbal and written communication skills. Now, that 2 years is because that's the average time for a court case to go through.
Yeah, we're actually asking for 3 now because of that spread.
Okay.
No, and we recognize life goes on, right?
Sure.
Some people get transferred with their job, but going in with the intent is what's most important, because we don't like to change that up for the child.
Right.
You know, if we're forced to, we're forced to, but the goal is we're the only constant
Right.
in that life, so we hate to change it up.
Ah, okay. Now, is there a is there? I mean, I didn't see it listed and anything like that, but is there a benefit for those volunteers who do have experience in the court system, not necessarily for themselves, but have worked with at-risk populations and everything like that? Or is it best to, and this happens sometimes in life too, because I tell these guys that sometimes the person who is the expert in the field isn't always the person you might want, a fresh out of nowhere kind of person. What's,
So first I would say the volunteers run the gamut.
Okay. As
far as background and experiences.
Okay.
You get trained and you have your supervisor.
Sure.
Right.
Yep.
It's interesting. I'm thinking of some individuals that were involved in either in the police force or maybe in the legal system,
right?
But not necessarily from abuse and neglect,
right?
And so you come in with some biases, perhaps,
sure.
Right? We all bias,
absolutely.
And it is interesting as well. The abuse and neglect court, and this was new for me as well, is a court of reconciliation. And this is really important to understand. It is not a criminal court. It is not about prosecuting someone. A child is removed from their home. It's determined that abuse and neglect occurred, likely from that parent, right, or someone else, right? At some point in the trial, there's a determination and an admittance that abuse and neglect occurred.
Yeah.
There's no crime going after here.
Right.
Our focus is rehabilitation and the child.
Right.
And so one of the biases is that mother or father did this to their child, and the volunteer, is very judgmental of the fact of what occurred. It's very sad. You may personally, we all have personal feelings about what should happen.
Right.
That's not where we are.
Right.
We are at the determination that we're going to keep that child safe, protected, in the right environment, getting them to continue to grow, right? While that parent is being rehabilitated and hopefully taking all the steps to be that.
Right.
And it's interesting if you come in with, but they're guilty and they did this and they did that we're way beyond that. Right.
Yep.
If there was a crime committed and it was done before, that's in criminal court. That's not where we are. So that's really important, and you have to change your mindset about what your biases might be.
Right.
The other thing we need to change our mindset of is it's a very diverse children that we serve. A third of the children are Caucasian, 30-40%. A third are Hispanic, Latino, and a third are Black, Brown, and a very small percentage Asian. Okay. So, but that is not the racial demographic of Kane County. Right. And so we need to ensure that any biases that, the volunteers may have, even in, we were talking in a CASA meeting yesterday, we can't force our own opinions of what a good breakfast is on someone, right?
Absolutely.
So we're in to make sure the child is fed and safe. Yep. And someone brought this up from another county yesterday. We meet regularly. Of the child had a donut and juice from the corner store, right? But in your household, it was always a hot breakfast,
eggs
at
with bacon,
table, blah blah blah. That was the child fed? Did they get a meal?
Absolutely.
Are they being taken care of? You can't apply what your idea of that fed is. And that's a very simple example.
It is.
But you just might be biased by the fact that that's just not how you, that was not breakfast in your household, right? So we need to be very sensitive, all the volunteers, as to the cultural differences and just the differences of how people's homes may operate.
Right.
But are they safe? Are they getting the services that they need? Are they fed? Are they performing well in school? You got to look at that whole big picture.
Right. Absolutely. The big picture, right? We hear about it a lot on this show. I know that you guys are mad at Jim. Oh, why did he get Curtis started? Absolutely. It's the big picture. As you know, Jim, I work for the Neighbor Project when the court-based rental assistance was going on, and the state of Illinois was providing funds for rental assistance. I nowadays, right, Calendly, we got all these things now, right? I got my time set up. You can meet with me between this time and that time. Well, members of the Latino community who don't speak English, they weren't available at that time. They can't bring their kids there at 9 o'clock in the morning and 10 o'clock in the morning. So I was taking more meetings later in the daytime. But what is the big picture? These people need help.
Yeah. That's right.
Right? Heaven forbid. Heaven forbid I'm too big to meet with somebody at 6 o'clock p.m., right? Yeah. Nah, if you didn't catch me between 9 a.m. and 3, nah. That's not what it's about.
That's right.
That's not what it's about. It's about the lady with 3 driving from Elgin just because, right? Using Google Translate at Treadwell just to see what we can do.
Yeah.
That's what it's about, man. That's what it's about.
Right. People, when we're interviewing for staff that are advocate supervisor positions or speaking with volunteers, court obviously happens during the day.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
But a child might reach out to you. And to me, that's a privilege because it's an honor that a child trusts you that they're going to call you. But they may not call you between 9 and 5.
Exactly.
Right. Because if they're in a situation where they feel threatened or they're feeling PTSD from something that is occurring in now their foster home, right? They may lean on our volunteer to just be able to talk.
Absolutely.
Right? And that doesn't happen. There's no time of day that's the right time of day.
That's right.
Right?
That's right. Because if you're going through something, come on, man.
Right. I mean, anyone that's a parent knows that. It's like, can you get sick not in the middle of the night? It's like, I don't want to.
Yeah.
Cleaning that up in the middle of the night with my eyes closed is just not a good thing.
3:06 a.m. Jeez. Yep. I want. So here's what I want you to do. Gabriel, take us to a quick commercial. Give me that top item you got, and then I'm gonna come in with CASA Kane County's events that they have because they got some humdingers. They got some humdingers coming up, ladies and gentlemen. The time is 8:38 a.m.
All right. There's a summer program for job readiness and leadership. It's open to students or youth ages 14 to 17. And this is occurring at New Covenant Full Gospel Church. That is 1029 Kane Street in Aurora. And it starts June 13th, 2023, and it'll be from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Tuesday through Thursday. Students can learn about structure and guidance, career exploration, job preparedness, mentoring, life skills, and many more.
All right. Thank you very much. So Lupita Gomez is here. Good morning, Lupita. Cindy Morales is about the well-being of the children. Cheryl Brownell, Zor Zapata, good morning. Ray Hall, good morning to you, dear sir. And good morning, Josue Pais. question, it's important to clarify, what is the time commitment on a day-to-day, weekly, monthly, and monthly basis for a GAL, guardian ad litem?
Okay, great question. So on average, we say it's 5 to 10 hours a month.
Okay.
So the training program goes for 8 weeks, 3 hours per session. There's some homework in between.
Okay.
Basically, in that 8-week section, or 8-week session, forgive me, you're actually going through a year plus of what a case would be like. So it's a simulation of a case. So there's a lot coming at you, so you can see the process.
Yeah.
But none of it will come that fast.
Of course.
The court system works very slow, so you have a lot of time to do that. And then monthly depends on the nature of the case. So things that change the dynamic is, how old is the child? 0 to 5 years old, not really a lot happening. They're not in school. You're visiting that child once a month. You want to make sure they're up to date on their doctor visits and things of that nature.
Right.
What's their development looking like, right? As the child gets older, there's going to be many more influencers and key individuals in their life where you may want to be reaching out and talking to some other people.
Right.
A case is a family, and we may divide it up, but there may be more than one child in your case. So the last few that have come in, one was 5 children, one was 6 children. They were separated into 3 different foster homes.
Right.
So that's not one visit, it's really 3. Now, generally, depending on the volunteer, we'll divide that up if need be. Or some volunteers say, no, I want to see the whole family, and we'll look at the whole thing.
Right.
So that's where your ranges are going to change on the time commitment. But on average, it stays within that range.
Okay. And then the other thing I wanted to do is real quick with the events that you guys have. August 14th, the Golf for a Child Invitational. And I've got the flyer here. Is there a digital one of these?
Hot off the press.
Hot off the
if
press.
If you go to the website, it's live at our website.
Okay, cool.
Under events.
Hot off the press. See, that's what we do. I like it news style, man.
Just there. It was warm when I brought it in.
It's going to be at the St. Charles Country Club. And it's going to be, August 14th of this year, 20th annual. A lot of amenities included. Brunch. Oh, y'all get ready for this. Hold on. Let me get ready for this. Are you sitting down? You're going to love this. Amenities included. Brunch, goodie bag, green fees with a cart. Come on, right there. Locker room accessibility. Halfway house lunch, silent auction, raffle, cocktail reception with live music, and awards. Yeah. Come on now. Text Honey, August 14th. We're free that night, right? 100 South 3rd Street in Geneva is CASA Kane County's location. Suite 460-630-232-4484 is the number. And CasaKaneCounty.org. On the website, they can sign up for the for the golf invitational.
Correct.
September 27th is Clays for Kids. Clays for Kids. What's that? Is that clay shoot?
Clay shoot.
Oh my goodness, that sounds fun.
It's at McGraw out in Elgin.
Okay.
It's a shooting range.
Okay.
And there's these clay discs, and they're shot out from trees and houses and what have you. That has an amazing brunch as well. We're into brunches, I guess.
I'm feeling it.
Great brunch.
I'm feeling it.
Before you go out there and shoot the clays, right? And then you come on back for heavy appetizers, cocktail reception, also awards.
That's awesome.
It's really fun.
Okay.
Excellent time.
And then October 14th is the Bourbon Social. Well, Clays for Kids is in Elgin. Golf Child Invitational is in St. Charles. And October 14th is the Bourbon Social.
Yeah, the Bourbon Social is new. We had one last year.
Okay.
Learned from it. It was fascinating in this regard. So we worked with one, Liquor and Wine, which has a location in St. Charles, but throughout the Fox Valley, throughout King County.
Okay.
And he brought together a number of individuals. They were all from the Bourbon Trail. And so we had 60 different bourbons.
That's awesome.
And some of the actual owners and founders of the various bourbons.
Wow.
And we asked everybody to either Uber or have a designated driver.
Absolutely.
Even 60 tastings would be a lot of bourbon.
Yeah.
We had a wonderful charcuterie meal as well.
Ooh.
But we were advised that we really need to up the heartiness of the food when you have all those bourbons. So we're going to change that up.
I bet, yeah.
And then we had a cigar lounge as well at the event. It was a really fun event. I bet we triple it because year one was so much fun.
And where's that at again?
That's going to be in a parking lot west of Randall Road behind Liquor and Wine.
Okay, all right. And then November 2nd is the Superheroes Luncheon.
Yeah, so let me share about that. We're going to have an amazing speaker for that.
Okay.
Superheroes Luncheon, we really call as a fundraiser, not a fundraiser.
Friend raiser. I'm feeling that. I'm feeling
right?
that.
This is what's really important is, when people think about nonprofits, they think about, okay, how can I support them?
Right.
And we're looking to build relationships. Our tag is donate, volunteer, or connect to change a child's story.
Right.
And the connections and the awareness is so important. We're serving all of King County and getting that word out across. So the Superheroes Luncheon is where we usually ask our board, volunteers, friend of CASA to bring others who do not know about us together to hear over a lunch. It's very... it's an hour, 15 minutes. Everyone could come on their lunch hour and learn about who we are. And then we generally have a motivational speaker. This year, our speaker we just locked in is in the final stages, but she has been a foster child herself.
Okay.
And she has a number of camps across the country that she partners with to bring foster children together with their siblings for a week because they've been they're separated, right? They're in different foster homes. And so now they all get to come together for a week of fun.
That's awesome.
But she's going to be sharing her story and then how she used it to a positive to make a difference in more lives.
Okay.
So, very excited for that.
November
I would like
2nd.
to share something that's not on there.
Oh, please do.
That is
please do.
Just being announced, and you're like going to be the close to first audience hearing this because we just advised our board yesterday. But CASA's 35 years old. We have a children's garden in the back of our courthouse at 100 South 3rd Street in Geneva. And on July 19th, at 5 o'clock, we're going to do a ribbon cutting and a celebration for our 35th anniversary. And our garden, which is beautiful, got severely damaged by a driver that drove through the garden, including knocking over our statue and so many things that broke over the winter, late fall, early winter. They didn't realize it wasn't a street, but that's a whole nother conversation. So it's almost fully repaired.
Okay.
We're going to reopen the garden. We're going to celebrate our 35th anniversary. And we'll also, it's the same day that our volunteers are going to be coming in between 4 and 6 p.m. to pick up their backpacks for back to school drive for the kids.
Awesome.
So that'll happen from 4 to 6. We're inviting the community out across King County at 5 for a ribbon cutting, and we're going to have some kind of special treats being served while we're there.
Can we bring that camera?
You can always bring your camera.
Oh, man. We're going to be there, y'all.
All right.
That sounds like fun. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, it should be
at
a
the
great
100 South 3rd Street in Geneva.
Right, correct. So it'll be right out in the garden. We're going to invite the chambers, do a ribbon cutting.
Right.
We're inviting the mayors and the judicial system, the community at large. Let's just celebrate in the backyard and, be part of changing child stories.
All right. Wow, that's really cool. That's really cool. Congratulations to you guys.
Thank you.
Congratulations, man. The time is 8:48 a.m. Cindy says, can't wait. Absolutely, you guys. Jim, where were you born and raised? Where are you from?
Northwest side of the city of
Okay.
Chicago.
All right.
After moving to St. Charles, it was you say you're from the city, they think you're from the downtown St. Charles.
Right.
I'm like, what? They're like, no, if I say I'm going to the city, I'm going
to Chicago.
I'm not going to, North Avenue.
Yeah.
They don't call it North Avenue. It's Main Street there. I'm not at North and Fifth,
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, so I grew up on the northwest side of the city my whole life and moved out to the St. Charles area about 27 years ago.
Okay.
So I've been around ever since.
All right. What did you learn growing up that makes you effective in what you do today?
My family always was involved in our church.
Okay.
And we ran a lot of fundraisers there. So that was something that I learned about volunteering very early on by example. My dad had a trade. He was in heating and air conditioning.
Okay.
And I jokingly shared that any widow or widow in the community was my dad's best friend, and he would always go help and do all the heating, air conditioning, or any other odd and end repairs, and giving back of the skills that he had.
Right.
I spent almost 30 years in corporate and financial institution, and we were really big about supporting our leaders in the communities that we serve.
Right.
And they didn't want to just give money; they wanted to know that we were involved and part of that organization, not just financially giving money.
Right.
And as a result, I was on both sides of the fence of on boards, as well as volunteering for those communities. So in time, I think my faith kind of brought me to more of a, well, how do you become more of a public servant, and how do I give back in a way that's more social justice than some of the other volunteer work that I was doing? They're all good and all good courses, but I just think my life journey all led me to where I'm at today, because it all influenced how you can make a difference. And I think having the privilege of this role, if there's things we can do, because it opens up doors to have conversations about children that are aging out, and how do we equip them so that they're viable, successful citizens and have a way to contribute back, or whether it's working with Kane County Health Department on mental health topics that are going to be important, whether the children are still in foster care or after, because I know firsthand when you become a parent yourself or other life changes, that is when certain things may trigger about your past. And so it's not over because it happened. It's not over. These are lifelong challenges, and how do we make sure that lifelong care exists? The other thing that I don't think we take advantage of, but there's a gap to get into, is any child that's been in foster care, whether they're returned home or adopted or age out, is entitled to full college tuition at any state school. However, that does not include room and board. So how do we equip at a younger age to get the children thinking about, hey, there is opportunity for you. How can we get you prepared? So that even though it's not a full ride, it is your tuition, you can get there. How do we help them get there? Because if you're walking out at the end of that journey and have not had the mentorship or the guidance or the coach, and you just went from foster home to foster home, how is it that they're going to be equipped to take ownership and be able to take that next step? And it's not just college, it's also any trade school. So lots of opportunities, and that's what we need to make sure our volunteers are aware of, so they could be informing the foster parents and the children along the way at the age-appropriate time.
The time is 8:53 a.m., ladies and gentlemen. This is a great conversation that we're having with our friend Dim Ciaula. Just switched it all up on him. Scratched it up myself. Jim Ciaula. See, we got there in the end. We got there in the end. So I'm going to give you a couple more pieces of information just to wet your proverbial whistle mentally as you go into the weekend, ladies and gentlemen. So the Golf for a Child Invitational, don't forget, that's going to be August 14th at the St. Charles Country Club, 20th annual for that. Coming up after that is the Clay for Kids. That's the 27th of September. October 14th is the Bourbon Social. November 2nd is the Superheroes Luncheon. You can learn more about CASA Kane County by going to their website, casakanecounty.org, or giving them a call, 630-232-4484. The number again is 630-232-4484, and they're located at the Kane County Courthouse.
Correct.
In Geneva. Okay, Suite 460. Nonprofit volunteer organization that advocates for the best interests of abused and neglected children within the juvenile court system. We just told you guys a whole bunch about what the GAL, the Guardian ad litem, does in respect to the CASA Kane County organization and the team. And we also demonstrated to you guys the need for volunteers. So if you are looking for something to get involved in and something that can help change the life of a child or a young person who needs it, please get involved. Give these folks a call. Cynthia Fennessy Clark is here. Good morning to you, Cynthia. You deserve a Friday, just like everybody else does. All right. Well, it's 8:55. So here's the thing. It was good to have you on the show, man.
Thank you for including me. This was great.
Absolutely,
Thank
man.
you.
Absolutely. This was a great conversation, as I knew it would be. But as we talked about before the mics and the camera came on, we're happy to continue sharing the information.
Thank you.
Everything that you guys got going on. That's part of the mission of Good Morning Aurora. It's about things that can help people out.
Right.
Your friends, your family. If it's going to help bring us to the next level and help humanity here on a local level, we're proud to share it.
Thank you.
The show,
honored to be here. Thank you.
We'll have you back too. Well, we're going to see you with that camera.
Right.
We're going to be out there July 19th. The show ends on a positive note. What is your message today for the people of Aurora and Kane County?
I think my key message is we've been a very Fox Valley centric organization for many years. We serve all of Kane County, and a third of the children come from Aurora. And it's such a pleasure as we're spreading our wings and getting into the community to meet so many wonderful people that care about the community that you're from, the community that you live in, and your commitment to making it a great place to live and work and party. We've had lots of good times already.
Absolutely.
And so in one way, I want to say I'm sorry we weren't here earlier, but in another way, I'm so excited to be here and look forward to meeting so many more people from this great community. So
all right.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, we appreciated having Jim here on the show, you guys. I hope that you guys have a great weekend. Use this information to your benefit, please. If you know someone who can or family who can benefit from this information, please, tag them into this video or share the video with them. We need subscribers on our YouTube channel. So if you are watching and can hear the sound of my voice and you're not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button on YouTube. But this was a great show. CASA Kane County has so much more to show you guys. We do as well. So be blessed. Next week is another week. It's Gabriel's last day is Wednesday, so we've got his show, and then Monica's last day is on Tuesday. Both dear and beloved members of the team. They've got bright futures ahead of them, so we're going to shout them out on the very last days. Tune in on Monday for more weather, more news, and more of what the very best of Aurora is. Thank you guys for watching. Take care of yourself and each other.
Thank you.